Hello, everybody. Hi. What's going on? It's totally only 5 o'clock. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. We're all fine here. See, I'm gonna admit something to everybody. When I made my character of myself, I took Streamwise, I took role-playing game-wise, but I did not take microphone hardware-wise, and this is where we ended up. So I'm sorry for that.
Sorry.
But hey, we're live now, which is what counts. So we're live for what purpose? What are we doing here? What's going on? I want to play a role-playing game. Do you guys want to play a role-playing game?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
With me?
I like role-playing games.
Well, before we do that, why don't we introduce ourselves? Depending on what you watch and when you've been around on the internet, you may recognize some of us. I have with me half of the original cast of Roll20 Presents Apocalypse World. We've retrieved Austin from the maelstrom. You've been brought back.
I have.
From the Chaos Storm.
We got brought back from having a day job now and not being able to make that time slot.
Did we tell you about how chat backed up your disappearance in fiction?
No.
Okay, so in the game we're playing in Apocalypse World, Austin had to step out. His character we had to come up with a reason for his character not to be around because he had to go and be a big important fancy pants in New York City.
New York City.
But what was awesome was that the setting of the game has to do with people are losing their memories after the apocalypse, and so when you left, everyone who'd been watching the show, they just took to it, no problem. They're just like, okay, whatever, we'll just keep playing. The PCs have forgotten the character for now, but new people would come into chat and be like, hey, where's Smith July? And the regulars would be like, who? What? Who are you talking about? I don't they all forgot with us. I know, it was beautiful.
Well, I'm here now.
No need to forget
to
anymore.
Here.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself,
yeah,
Austin?
I'm Austin Walker. You may know me again from the Apocalypse World game that I was in briefly back in May. I am a games critic. I work for GiantBomb.com. I had to quit playing Apocalypse World because that is time during which I write news stories about Nintendo and critical pieces about things like public funding for art games, apparently. And you can find all my stuff now at GiantBomb.com. So that's really the one place for me. And over on Twitter, I'm at Austin_Walker.
Mm-hmm. How's New York treating you, Austin?
Good.
Is it brutal? Is it brutally hot there, or is it not so much?
It's pretty hot. It hasn't gotten into bad summer heat yet. That'll come probably in July or August. Till then, it's a little uncomfortable, but it's not unbearable.
Well, good, because it's hot as fuck here. I am dying.
Where are you at? You're out. You're in.
I'm on the West Coast, and it's. I mean, I'm a big baby, but it's still hot here.
That's fair. Big babies get hot. They're so big.
It's true. It's true. Yep. There's some fan art waiting to happen.
Oh my god.
If there's anybody in the audience who is a Misclicks fan, which there should be, if you're not already, go make that happen. Jess might be a familiar face to you. We've played games before, Jess. How many times have we played? We played Monster Hearts together.
Yeah, we played Monster Hearts.
We did the meat grinder.
2 different Dungeon World campaigns, I think.
That game.
On Misclicks.
Do people still play? Do people still play Dungeon World? Because I heard it was not. I heard it was on the downslide. Well, welcome back.
That's pretty good.
Welcome back, Jess.
Super happy to have you. You can find 50 episodes of me running a Dungeon World game at friendsathetable.net. So
go buy Dungeon World, everybody.
No, it's really awesome.
So tell us a bit about yourself, Jess. What kind of nerdy things do you do?
Well, I'm pretty much a nobody, but that's okay, right? We're all friends here.
I'm scoffing as hard as I can. I'm gonna hurt myself.
I do some commission artwork for some Twitch streamers. I do some channel art for people. I have a website that I made called endeavors.org. It's pretty awesome. You should check it out.
Science.
And science rules.
Endeavors is really cool.
Bill
Nye approved.
And I'm filled in on Twitter. That's it. That's me.
People are going to go and they're going to see your art and they're going to be like, oh, I've seen this before. Because that shit is everywhere. I really like the stuff that you did for Nimmergeist, the character portraits.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, very
That was
solid.
really, really fun because I got like sneak peeks of all their character descriptions, and it's like a big naughty secret. It's really cool.
That's why we do these things, big naughty secrets.
Mm-hmm.
It's the whole reason.
Couldn't tell anyone.
Yeah. But it's currency of the internet, right? Because secrets are not a thing anymore. So the fact that you knew in advance. I mean, like we've been planning this campaign for like a while, right? And for me especially, because I'm so excited about the Burning Wheel. I was like, I can't tell anybody anything, and people are like, "What game are you gonna play?" And I'm like, well,
I don't know.
Wheels out of the bag now. Speaking of wheels, check this segue out, Andrew. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, if people don't already know you as everybody's favorite creepy brain doctor?
Well, I'm everyone's favorite creepy brain doctor. I'm Andrew. I'm a friend of Adam's, and we played a lot of story games together, and so it was for that reason that he invited me to come onto his show, the Apocalypse World show. And so now we're doing this one, which I'm really excited about. Because we played Burning Wheel together once upon a time, and it was really sweet, and then it's really hard to get people.
Yeah, Andrew and I are friends, but when I set him up with a perfect segue to talk about bicycles, he just shoots me down, just fucking leaves me hanging. I was going with the wheel thing.
I'm a bicycle in my day-to-day life.
It's true.
That's my main thing.
That's so weird. You don't look like a bicycle.
Don't listen. Bicycles come in all shapes and sizes.
Yeah, there's no wrong way to have a body or be a bicycle. Okay,
okay, that's fair.
There's no wrong way to be a bicycle. You heard it here first, everybody.
And so, yeah, I'm just like a person who really loves all these games. So I'm really excited.
Good.
If you want to follow Twitter @CommutingCrow, you can do that, and you can shout things at me, tell me what I'm doing wrong.
Andrew really likes it when you tell him how much you like his characters, and he doesn't get embarrassed at all, ever. So definitely do lots of that.
Oh, Mad Max.
All right. Well, the post-apocalypse has begun. Cool. And brand new to our internet role-playing action. Colin, who art thou?
Good question.
I know, the big heavy hitters.
First and foremost, I am a person who likes video games. So that puts me in a unique position, I think, among this community.
Weird.
And I like watching people play video games, and I do that frequently. And like Jess, I also co-founded Endeavorist, where we do sciencey things. We try to crowdfund science and that sort of stuff. So really, I have nothing to do with tabletop role-playing games at all.
Yeah,
and just to emphasize, I'm a complete novice, and this is going to be really awesome. I'm really excited.
Yeah, when we were talking about getting everything set up and stuff, I was like, what's the best possible game that I could find for someone who's never played role-playing games before?
I heard Burning Wheel's like basically the easiest role-playing game there is, so it's a good place to start out.
Yeah, you just make stuff up, and there's no complicated math or dice or anything involved. It's fine.
Yeah.
Wait, there's math?
It's okay. Roll20 will do all the math for us.
Wait, there's dice? I only use index cards in my gaming. Thank you very much.
Yeah, only first edition D&D.
Yeah, this is the part where we all go and dress up like vampires and play rock, paper, scissors.
Mm-hmm.
That's an old nerd joke from an old nerd.
Yeah, I'm with you though.
You can't make it a sign for being invisible in the neighborhood or we get shot.
Yeah. You saw me do that, right? I just did it. I just did the obfuscate.
Yep, dork jokes. So, what we're doing today is making characters. And I know that a lot of the time when people do role-playing games online, this is the part they skip, because it's like, you don't want to sit in here and watch us do character creation stuff, because it's usually in person there's a fair bit of like quiet head down writing and what have you, but it's so integral to the way Burning Wheel works that I would not be able to sleep at night if we just skipped over it. And people think that's me being hyperbolic. It's not. I would just be like, we shouldn't have skipped it. Shit.
You'd be a nervous wreck.
I would be. I'd never be able to do it.
Inconsolable.
I know. So we're going to do that. We're going to make characters for our campaign. There will be like quiet time that I can keep an eye on chat and answer questions about the game. It's going to be just kind of a chill hangout while we all come down off the adrenaline terror of wondering if we were going to get the stream live or not. And the idea is just to like get everything set up, because in Burning Wheel, to make the game really, like to make it work, we need the setting, which we'll talk about a little bit at the beginning. We need a situation, which is like the overarching thing that's like happening in that setting. So like the setting for Star Wars is outer space, right? It's a bunch of planets in outer space. The situation is the Empire sucks and some people have decided to not let them be shitty anymore and they're gonna knock them out. And then we need characters. So we need our Luke and our Leia and our Han and our Lando and what have you. So that's what we're gonna be doing today. So we've done a little bit of work in advance, talking kind of off over the time since we've been planning this session about what we want to do for a setting. So talked a little bit about that. Talked a little bit about the situation. So why don't we start there? Like let's talk a little bit about some of the conclusions we kind of came to. You know, because the questions that I've been getting are like, what's the setting and what are the characters like? And we can't answer the character part yet, but we can talk a little bit about that. So by default, Burning Wheel has a built-in kind of implied setting built on the life paths. So because the life paths exist, because you could be a lawyer or a doctor or a knight or a tiliator or whatever.
Or an outcast.
Yeah, or an outcast, a rogue wizard. Those things exist in our setting, and the game is sort of aimed generally like a mortar rather than a sniper rifle at this kind of Middle Ages Europe kind of space based loosely on generally Western fantasy like Tolkien or Le Guin or whatever. And then we can deviate from that pretty easily. And we've talked a lot about how we want the campaign to be like pretty cosmopolitan. So we're going to set it primarily, not exclusively, but primarily in the world's like big city. And it's like a port city. It's the seat of government. And that's important because there's just been, we're at the tail end of a pretty significant civil war where the peasant class, spurred on by a sort of new kind of firebrand religion, started this uprising, rose up against the aristocracy, kind of French Revolutioned them, and now are dealing with the ramifications of like, okay, cool, you ousted the evil empire. What the hell are you gonna do now? Like,
congratulations, you're the evil empire.
Yeah, exactly. Now you have become the thing. Are you gonna be a better version of the thing than the ones before? We talked a little bit about the sort of available technology, and if I'm like, this is all me operating off of memory from conversations we've had over the course of a month. So if I'm missing stuff, or you guys want to jump in and be like, actually, we changed that, remember? Or like, you have some input on this stuff, feel free to interrupt me, or I'll just keep talking forever. We're going with like the nobles had access to kind of like late Middle Ages stuff, like maybe some firearms. Like black powder is a thing that they had access to, yeah?
I think so. I think we said that.
Yeah. It's not like all the peasants got guns and that's how they rose up. It was like, there's like noble duelists and stuff, but it's not really considered like a weapon of war necessarily.
Nothing's mass produced, it's all handmade.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Plate armor is a thing, but again, very expensive. Everybody else I think is probably like on the further end of the formerly referred to as the Dark Ages. What is it, the classical medieval period now? My history is terrible, but so more like, you know, iron helms and broad shields and like Viking style like axes, right? Like Normans on the far end. And that's probably like the peasants were probably pikemen and axe wielders and what have you. And then there's this sort of like nebulous middle class that had to ally with the peasants to be like, we would like to survive and we're merchants and we have stuff, so yeah, we'll help you.
Yeah. Don't kill us too, please.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And we also talked about, for both simplicity's sake and for the sake of kind of focus in the game, to just take human life paths. So it's not going to be like a Fellowship of the Ring kind of deal. But the other, like, orcs, dwarves, and elves exist, sort of, but we don't, like, they're elsewhere? Is that kind of what we had established?
I think so. That's kind of what we established, yeah.
Okay. Cool. So maybe there's like some suspicion that like the elves had a hand in the revolution, or like, but it's more like conspiracy theories and stuff. It's not like you're going to see a dwarf just like walking down the street.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah, in that delightful document that we went through, where the elves live is like with a question mark, and under the topic, what's the name of a faraway place that folks talk about, dream about, or mutter under their breath about? So,
nice.
yeah, it's like the home of conspiracy.
Elfland and stuff, and be like, those damn peasants would never have won this war if they didn't have some kind of advantage. So it must have been that.
Right. I also like that as a thing that's really kind of like bubbled up in the aftermath of the Civil War. That like, yeah, the elves were like whatever beforehand, like, but like we're doing our own thing over here, and now there's a reason to really hate the outsider. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, it must have been those elves, because it couldn't have been the peasants, and also we need someone else to still hate, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. People who are like taller or paler or have pointier ears than the people around them are starting to be like scoped out in a bad way. Cool. Okay. And then we also talked a little bit about, because if you're playing a game with primarily human life paths, you got to work out sorcery, you got to work out faith. So I'm not sure, did we come down on a particular thing with faith? I think sorcery was like it exists, but it's like a birthright, not a skill you learn. Is that a thing that we had decided?
Yeah, I think so. That sounds
I feel
right.
like we talked about, like, there are wizards, but they're off somewhere doing their own thing and they don't care about us.
Yeah, that was my
It's
impression.
just like a rare
Yeah,
thing.
they're not like integrated with society. They're reclusive.
Yeah.
Right.
So like maybe someone in the party uses magic, but they would have had to have been this like weird outside person who brought them.
Sure. And that's the kind of thing that can tie in when we start talking about the cultures of the world, and we like start doing cultural traits. Like it may be that like only the Stygians have magic, and it's like an ancient thing from far away. Cool. Okay. And then as a situational thing, so we talk a little bit about setting, and we'll fill those gaps in as we make our characters, and you know we need more of this information. From the situation, you were all involved either directly or indirectly in the last thing, the assassination of the former reigning dictator, whether it's a king or the queen or the hierarch or the emperor, whoever, whatever we decide to call that person. They were assassinated, they were killed, and when they died, they laid a curse on both the people specifically involved and on the new regime in general. It's like these dying curses that kings spew forth when they get murdered.
Those who follow me, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, exactly. Those who spilled my blood will be forever cursed. And so we're in the middle of, and I don't know, maybe that was like 6 months ago or a year ago. I don't know. I think that we're still in like the post-war, but like the resistance isn't quite stomped out. Like we had talked about nobles having retreated into the hinterlands to live on their manors and stuff, and
it's
like
kind of like rural versus urban thing, where like they had kind of retreated, and the war is effectively over, and they're happy to like continue farming and still being rich and safe out there, but maybe there was still some tension.
Well, and yeah, like they have fortified castles that they can be like, well, my team lost, but I'm still in my castle, and I'm going to fight this war forever.
Yeah, or maybe there's like kind of a provisional, like, no one really like won outright. It's just like the peasants got about like 70% of what they wanted, and we're just going to call it here because war is horrible.
Yeah. Okay, so in the interim between the big showy death of the hierarch, whoever was in charge, and now things have not gone so great. And not just in a like obvious like it's hard to come back from war thing, but like the crops aren't doing very well. Maybe there's been a spate of bad weather. You know, the new government is having a hard time reopening supply lines to their allied countries. And of course, people blame it on the curse. They're like, if you hadn't done this, you horrible people, everything would just be fine, right? But
the monarch's curse was an inside job.
That's right. Magic can't melt steel beams, Andrew.
That's right.
I need to leave. Bye.
So I mean that's like a thing, right? Again, it goes back to the elf thing where they're just like, if you used cursed elf magic, the king was right. And so generally the regime has a curse sort of laid upon it, but I think that you four and 8 others, either by directly, maybe one of you is the one who turned the knife, but you're all directly involved somehow in the death of the hierarch, and you've been like physically, magically like cursed. And so all of you, somewhere on you, like on your hand or your neck or like somewhere, you bear the brand of the curse. It's the mark of a wheel with broken spokes.
So it's a real thing at the very least.
At the very least, that's a thing. Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay.
Now you haven't noticed any like everything else is like maybe that happened, maybe it didn't. Like it's hard to say, but the mark is real, and so I mean that's a thing that the game could become at least in part about. Like let's figure this curse out and try to solve it, or it might just be like this is a superstition. Fuck that. We have a government to run.
Right.
And so your characters are soldiers and informants and whatever, and the war is over, and so you're trying to find your place in the world. And we talked about, for sort of inspirations for the game, we talked a little bit about The Wire in terms of kind of, I think, Andrew, this was your reference initially. Do you want to talk a little bit about what kind of that was for you, like why you were thinking about The Wire?
Well, because I guess one of the big things about it is like, if you envision our characters as the cast very broadly, it's not like we're all the cops or something. It's just like everyone is pursuing, a means of survival within this same setting, and it's about how we are connected and how we cross paths, and so that the story can kind of grow beyond that. Like in the various seasons of The Wire, they're always introducing new parts of the world by way of characters, and so like if we ever want to be like, cool, we're gonna do a season like over here with these things that are related, connected by characters or whatever, it gives us a lot of room to kind of explore the whole setting very thoroughly by way of the characters, which is what Burning Wheel is all about. So
and Burning Wheel moves in arcs, so that when we reach 12 episodes or so, we'll be able to say, okay, this arc is done, let's do the trait vote, and then we'll move on and see where the next piece is. And like in The Wire, the game starts at very street level, and we might end up going further into the government stuff, we might end up on the religious side. Like we're going to allow ourselves some space to kind of explore the setting as we go, so we don't have to know everything about it right away. Are there any other general setting things that you guys want to talk about?
Did we decide to commit to Western dark fantasy kind of, because you would kind of come back with a pretty strong...
I mean aesthetically
I'm cool with that. Aesthetically I'm not saying we shouldn't do that. I'm just trying to make sure I have it in my head.
I think aesthetically yes, but I would explicitly like to avoid Witcher syndrome where we're just pretending to be Europe. Because that's valid, that's a thing you can do, but I don't really want to. So
Can I put forward an idea that would maybe help with that? So one thing that I really like is that we're like, hey, this is like a medieval setting, but we're kind of juxtaposing the French Revolution into it, which is a much more modern period in terms of political thought, that kind of stuff. Wouldn't it be interesting to be like, okay, we're in a medieval setting in terms of the weaponry, etc., but politically it's a little bit more sophisticated, and maybe also from places that don't have a medieval tradition. What would medieval America look like, right?
Right.
The idea of these different attitudes towards, government, property, how what is valued, what would it look like to have a medieval society that was more a reflection of North American values and traditions in so much as they are. I mean, I know it's a colonial tradition, but
right.
The weird alternate history version of medieval, white America. And maybe they're all a bunch of colonialist assholes too, and that's totally, part of what makes America it is.
Yeah,
but
and I think that by building a setting in which we focus on the cosmopolitan aspects of it, and maybe the city has changed hands over 1,000 years, so that you build up this strata of different cultures have occupied it at any given time. And I think that there's historical precedent for that too, where it's Gauls and Romans and modern British, and there's space to have some of that. So everybody is we have a culture that's not homogenous.
I kind of like the notion of medieval New Orleans or medieval New York, where this place has been in a bunch of different hands, and over the course of a few hundred years. Like, people don't move. When the new king takes over, the people who live here are still here, and they're just like, oh yeah, I guess I wave this flag now.
Right.
Like, I own a bakery, I can't leave. You know.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that. That's almost like post-colonial medieval, like, which doesn't make sense. Like, I understand historically, materially, but
it's fantasy, right? We can get anachronistic and weird about it. So
yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Or
cool.
Pyroman in 15 in the chat says Constantinople. I kind of like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of the city of crossroads. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And I mean, we'll talk a little bit more about this when we get into the culture traits and stuff. But
yeah.
Cool. Well, let's talk about character concept, because that's the first stage in character creation. So when you're designing, I'll just read straight from the book. So when you're designing a character for a Burning Wheel game, it's best to start with an overall, like, rough idea, like a wily former slave hawker, a young headstrong wizard, a brutal knight, that kind of thing. You have a generalized idea of what your character is going to be, and you'll have lots of options to fill that out. So have a concept that you can twist and bend a little bit. And the concept should abide by two main guidelines. They should be feasible for the genre and style of the group, and should be tied into the situation at hand. So the situation being that you're all still kind of part of this, either the military directly or the new government, so you will have a mandate, and at least initially. Like, I don't see you becoming an independent or unit until, like, season 2 maybe. So you're still kind of like part of that situation. Maybe you're still hunting out nobles that are
Sure.
hidden, that kind of thing. And your character will be able to change. Your concept might not stay the same, but it should be tied to that situation.
Yeah.
So choose a character concept. You can either tie your concept you already have. So if you're like, I want to be a disgraced nobleman, you should think of how you can tie that into the situation, or you can look at the situation and find a character concept in it that you like. So like cursed celebrity. So someone who's like, yeah, I'm one of the 12 who are cursed. Fear me, I'm awesome, right?
Buy me free drinks.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Right. All of the members of the 12 are going to be different about the way they're handling their curse, and I could totally see that being one of them. Where one of them's just like, I am so important now. I'm just going to go be a dandy and like go to all these bars and like tell stories about the war.
I'll show up at your like event if you pay me a little bit of money.
Yeah,
like, I'll totally be at your birthday party.
Oh my god.
So you're like a Jersey Shore cast member.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a clown. That's awesome. So that kind of thing. You can tie the situation to the character, or you can do it the other way around. So I'll give you all a minute to think about that. Let's take a short break. We'll just do like a 3-minute break. I'm gonna grab some water, and when we get back, I'll switch over to the Roll20 screen, and we can get into the character sheet and all the nitty gritty, and we'll spend the rest of the session doing that stuff.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Sound good? Okay, cool. So audience, stick around. We will be right back.